But anyway, chat, if you would please like to direct your attention, look what I've created here. Today, we're basically just going to do a tier list of all of the Renegade abilities and basically just break down which ones I think you should use. We'll talk about like the meta ones at the end. And there's quite a few here that are like relatively surprising because I've tested all of these. Revitalize is clearly F tier. Well, actually, it's funny that you say that, Blair, because Revitalize is actually the first one. I do want to start with Revitalize, and there's a couple notes I have about Revitalize, obviously how it works for those of you who may not know. S, yes. Well, for starters, yes, it is S. Why is it S? Well, because it gives you all of your abilities and all of your, like, your max super in like 4 seconds. It's very good for just neutral play, very good for invasions as well, especially double crosses. You can really catch somebody out by just having your super right off the rip. I certainly cheese that a lot with you like Winter's Wrath and stuff, and it heals you to full. Sometimes healing in the Lawless Frontier can be a bit difficult, so having this to heal you up is quite nice. So this is hands down S tier, one of the best abilities, and it has 4 charges. Exactly. Revitalize 100% S tier. Basically take this for every single job that you are doing. Yeah, 4 charges is a little bit crazy for this, but you know, all of these abilities, I feel like Bungie designed them to be very OP, just like on purpose, you know. Next is the Recon Shank, and actually the Recon Shank has received some buffs recently. I kind of want to put it in A tier for now. I don't know what you guys think, but I kind of want to put it in A tier because it has received a buff where it now pings like every chest on the map. Obviously it pings the keycards as well, it pings invaders, and the chest markers, they don't disappear, I'm pretty sure. So if you wanted to just load into a job and go in and just do like chest running, I think it's pretty good. We could move it to maybe the top of B or the bottom of A. I'm probably going to put it to the bottom of A once we get everything else in. But another thing with the Recon Shank is that it's very much, you take this if you want to go in and get credits and ingots from the chests. It's like a farming run thing. Yes, it does show the keycard vault still, and it shows like every single chest. So it did get buffed yesterday, or changed, I suppose. It's probably bottom of A, but it's just going to go in A for now. This is definitely a ability that you probably wouldn't bring in if you were just grinding like contracts, for example. But if you're just going in and you want to do chest farming, which is low-key like a pretty good method for like coins and rep and stuff, I think it's pretty decent, so it's not terrible. But yeah, that's it for Recon Shank. I think A is good. Next up, we have the Strafing Run. I want to hear some of your opinions on the Strafing Run, chat, but I honestly think it's pretty good. I don't know if it's A tier. I'd maybe put it like, to be honest, I'd probably put it above Recon Shank, top of B. The thing is with the Strafing Run is that it does a lot of boss damage, especially when you have it fully upgraded. The AoE is massive and it does a huge amount of boss damage. She's saying B, top of B. I could put it in B for now. Oh, actually, hold on, that's the this one. It's even confusing me. It's just very good for solid damage versus bosses and just clearing waves. But to be honest, there is another Renegade ability that is very good for just doing all of that. Good for like bounty hunt jobs, for example, and you get 4 charges of it. So, you know, having 4 charges of an ability that does quite a lot of damage is quite nice. The only thing that's kind of bad about Strafing Run actually is that it doesn't work on Hydras, because I was testing all of these last night, like getting some gameplay of them, and if you attach this to a Hydra, it just doesn't hit it. The shield just like completely stops, like, or barely any damage from hitting it. I think it only takes damage from like the Scorch. After that, we have the Imperium Drop Pod. I think the Drop Pod is okay. I think the Drop Pod is probably B. I want to say like behind Strafing Run, because it's good for ammo, but if you're going in with the correct build, say like Stormlancer's Brace Warlock build, for example, you actually don't need ammo that much. And if you're going with a lightsaber, your ammo is not nearly as important. That thing basically has infinite ammo. Yeah, any lightsaber build, you don't really care about ammo. It does do decent boss damage, and you also get 4 charges of it, but it's kind of outclassed by the next one that we're going to talk about and all of its variants. I think B is probably pretty good. Yeah, more of a utility. It's definitely got really nice like trolling or goofing around potential. You can smash an invader with it, for example, call it on top of an invader's mech. Like that's pretty fun. Not exceptional, as it's a bit more on the funny side, exactly. It's kind of like a good counter to the tanks, but there are also non-Renegade ability counters to the tanks. So, but after that, we have the Imperium Behemoth and all of its variants. And I thought I'd get all of the variants on here because some of them are weaker than others. Obviously, we have the standard, S top of S. Standard Behemoth, I'm just going to put in A because it doesn't have like any attachments, so it's literally just the front guns, which still do a lot of damage. This thing is overpowered, like you guys were saying at the beginning when we started this. This thing is OP. The real one that is just the best is the missile loadout for the Behemoth, the level 2 one. This thing is top of S, no question. Like the missiles do so much damage, excellent for like crowd control and boss damage. It's overpowered. We'll keep the standard one in A. Then for the other 2 variants, the first one we have is the Mortar variant, which is kind of disappointing, actually. It's still A tier, I think, because it's the Behemoth, but it just doesn't do a lot. And same thing for the Behemoth, like seismic charge, or sorry, the mortar in A, but the seismic charge one is also not very good. Like the freeze charge, I don't know if you guys have actually messed with it. It's not good, bro. It's not good. Like you would never take seismic over, like, I honestly think the mortar one is better than the seismic one, because it takes a while to wind up, and by the time that it's wound up, it does make a cool sound. By the time that it's wound up, you've just killed everything. The mortar one is, it releases like a cluster of blue projectiles that kind of fall down on enemies. They still do a decent bit of damage, but it's just not great. Ad control, the thing is with ad control in a tank that you can just delete everything with like 2 shots, it's not really like useful in my opinion. I think the only variant that you should really worry about is missiles. I mean, obviously they're all A and S tier because they're just attached to the tank, but the one that's by far the best is the missile loadout. So if you weren't sure which one to take, definitely take the second upgrade for the missiles. So that's it for the Behemoth. Very overpowered. Next actually is the Piker Mortar, and I don't know if you guys have messed with this. I'm gonna put this like in A. I'm gonna put this Piker Mortar over the Behemoth variant, these other Behemoth variants, because this thing is low-key, yeah, like a sleeper pick. I don't know if I want to put it above Recon Shank. I probably would. This thing does a lot of damage, and it's even better if you get multiple people in your squad to use it, because you get 4 charges, and if you place them all down, they literally all just start sending barrages at all of the enemies, and they do loads of damage as well. And it's really good against invaders. So it just literally sits there. It has like a relatively like short lifetime, but when it is up, it does so much damage, bro. And it shoots really quickly as well. It shoots like these homing missiles into the air, and when you have the max upgrade, they spawn stasis crystals and freeze enemies as well, and it does lots of damage, including the shatter that you get from the crystals too. And obviously I'll have the gameplay of this showing in the background for the YouTube video, but it's a very underrated pick, and you can definitely have a lot of fun if you're playing with like your friends and you all choose to bring this in. You will definitely not regret it. It's very strong if you don't have like the tank upgraded, if you went with the Pikers beforehand, or if you're just kind of starting with a totality division. So yeah, very, very solid Renegade ability. So that leaves us, chat, with 3 left. We have the Falcon. What do we think of the Falcon, chat? Because it has 3 variants. It has like a standard, it has a stasis variant, and a strand variant. And they're okay. Like from my testing, like the standard Falcon for me is like a B, probably bottom of B. It does a lot of damage. It does do a lot of damage, which is surprising. Strand Falcon in S, Falcon, Strand S, Falcon A, Interceptor B. What makes you think that? Because the Strand one does actually do a lot of damage. I'd probably put it at the top of B tier for the time being. We might want to move that around. I think the standard one is fine. It does good damage, but the Strand one definitely does feel like it deals good damage. Almost similar to the Behemoth, it felt. I was actually kind of surprised. And yet you can tie up Behemoths as well. So like in the event that you get invaded, for example, and they're in a tank and you happen to be using the Strand Falcon, you can shut them down because you can tie their legs up. I have personally not seen that interaction happen yet, but yeah, you can completely counter Behemoths with it. The only one that's kind of disappointing to me was the Stasis one. I'd honestly probably put the Stasis Falcon in B. Yes, it freezes stuff. Yes, it does like a decent amount of damage, but the fire rate on it is very slow, and the crystals, it spawns 1 at a time, and you've got infinite boost, yes, and you can ram into your stasis crystals to like shatter them, but with the other vehicles, I think it kind of completely overshadowed. You know, I think Strafing Run is better actually. I'll put Strafing Run over the Strand Pike, then Drop Pod over the standard Pike. But yeah, I think the Stasis one is C tier. So the only thing is that the DPS is actually decent, so if you're wanting to mix up your gameplay a little bit, definitely give it a try, but it's not the best. Anyway, finishing up, we have the 2 Vex Renegade abilities, and honestly, guys, I want to put both of these in D tier. Maybe the Deflector in like C tier for like invasions. These abilities, they're very disappointing. They're both very bad in my opinion. So the Deflector shield, it essentially creates a shield around you, and when you have it max level, if you step into it, you get amplified, which is nice, I suppose, and you can shoot out of it, and enemies can't shoot into it. But in PvE, that's not really needed, or at least versus PvE enemies, it's not really needed. You're kind of locked down into one spot. Maybe if it was like an intense extraction or something, all things considered, extractions aren't that intense for you to need to place down a shield, and invasions is where it might see use. I was actually using it in invasions, and yes, you know, it's like a one-way shield, but you can break it very easily. You can counter it very easily with something like the Behemoth, which a lot of people are using in invasion. So I don't think it's very valuable in either PvP or PvE. And then we come to the Vex Stun Field, and this thing is just terrible, by the way. I tested it in footage, and it just creates this like cube dome that if enemies walk into, they get blinded, and that's about it. They take like damage over time, and they get blinded. extended. And it's like a relatively small area, and it doesn't even last that long either. It lasts for like, what, 30 seconds, something like that, which isn't very long, and it's kind of bad. So if you are leveling up syndicates purely because you wanted to try out their Renegade abilities, definitely leave the Tharsis Reformation to last, because both of these are pretty bad. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of the list. Do you guys have any alterations you want to make? Anything you don't agree with? Just to reiterate, we have Missile Behemoth and Revitalize in S. I think that's pretty obvious. I have Piker Mortar at the top of A, Recon Shank as well, because it's very good for farming runs. Then the rest of the variants for the Behemoth. So the standard, the Mortar, and the Seismic Charge. Seismic Charge is still a bit air. Drop Pod into A. What makes you say that? Because I don't think it has too much value. Revitalize should be above Walker. Revitalize above Walker. Nah, the tank is just too OP. It's too OP. Mortar carries so hard in PvP, I put it in S. I could put the Mortar at the bottom of S. Genuinely, I could see that. Revitalize gives already 9 supers, of which 1 or 2 beats the Walker. You don't need Revitalize because you can just sit in a Walker and win. So I think the S tier is probably pretty locked in. You want to put the Strand Pike in A tier. You want to put the Strand Pike in A tier, yeah? Yes, you can skate with the tank. Exactly, you can skate off ledges. Strand Falcon in A. I could put it underneath, yeah, the tank variants. Strafing Run top of B. Drop Pod in B as well. Standard Falcon. Stasis Falcon in C, not very impressive. And then the Vex ones, they're just terrible. I like this list. Do you guys like this list? Do you guys think this is good? I think this is pretty final. I mean, all things considered, I did want to leave a note about, you know, anybody who's watching the YouTube video and is not sure which ones you want to take in. Very much consider taking in both Revitalize and a tank. That is pretty much the hard meta for Lawless Frontier. But if you wanted to do, like, be a little bit more whimsical, definitely try out a full stack of Piker Mortars, because you'll be very surprised. In Recon BS, give it farm until showing all chests now and shows invader. I don't think it's S, no, because you would take these abilities over it. Isn't enough Piker representation? It's because they're shit. Totality division all the way. Maybe I would move the stun, like the Vex Deflector, to D. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that is my Renegade abilities tier list.